Hey, you son of a beep! What the heck? I cannot believe this. Cuts me off. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break the Third Commandment by cussing. Because that's what the Third Commandment means, right? Cussing. You shall not cuss. You shall not say any bad words. No, come on, people. That's not what it means. Give me a break. It's much, much deeper than that. This is the Third Commandment. You shall not take the Lord your God's name in vain, in a worthless manner, in an empty way. What does God mean by that? Well, what he's doing essentially is protecting his reputation. God has always cared very deeply about his reputation. He's always cared very deeply about what people think about him. And if people are going around and if they are saying things, they are saying he said things that he hasn't said, like, thus saith the Lord, or God is telling me to tell you, or you speak with an authority, a prophetic authority, as if you are relaying the infallible word of God, you'd better be correct. The commandment says, don't take his name. The name simply means reputation. The name of God, may his name be extolled throughout the whole earth. That is the reputation of God. That is the glory of God. Do not take his name, his reputation, in an empty way. In other words, taking means to represent, to whether it be through your life, which may be a small way to apply this, but most specifically through saying that God has spoken to you. That is to take his name. And to take it in vain means just to be wrong. It's not saying don't take his name at all. It says don't take his name in vain. And this is a protection that God has had from the very beginning about his word and the protection against false prophecy, falsely representing the name or the words or the reputation of God. God cares very deeply because he loves people and he wants people to know who he truly is. And he doesn't want people using his name and his reputation to manipulate things. He does this in Deuteronomy chapter 13, Deuteronomy chapter 18, telling about the signs of a true prophet. This is the way you will know whether or not they are truly speaking on behalf of me, that what they say comes to pass, or they have some type of accompanying sign or miracle. Now that miracle could very well be just the very fact that they are correct about something that there's no way they could know about. So God cares deeply about protecting his reputation. And even if you come up and say, I think God is telling me to tell you, you got to understand that is powerful. Because, if you're just coming up and you're saying, I'm telling you, then your name, your reputation carries very little weight, especially if I don't know you, and especially if you are not very responsible with your advice. But if you come up and you say, God has told me, God is telling me to tell you, or I think God is telling me to tell you, all of a sudden it ups it. People listen more, whether it's a subconscious thing or a conscious thing. That's the way that it happens. Whenever people hear prophecies about themselves, they listen because they think it's from God, or they think it might be from God. Even whenever you have people that are fortune tellers, and I bring that up because whenever I was young, there was a fortune teller I went to whenever I was 12 years old who told me not to drive a red sports car too fast in my 30s, and that I would have feet problems whenever I got older. Now, that haunts me in some ways because I do have feet problems. Now, I didn't have a problem with the red sports car. I just never bought one. But just the very fact that she claimed to have some type of other source that was transcendent above her own knowledge for things about myself or for things about the future, it stuck in my mind. And maybe I didn't believe it. Maybe I said, that's just nothing. That she doesn't know what she's talking about. She is a fortune teller. Either way, it affects. And whenever you use God's name, it does affect. Even if you just say, I think God is telling me to tell you. I think if you're not sure, If you don't know for certain that God has told you to tell somebody, or God is speaking to you, do not bring his name into it. Just leave it at that you think that the people should change in this way, or you think that people should be encouraged in this way, that you think it, but don't bring God's name into it, because at that point, you had better be right. I'm not saying you would take people out and stone them today, but I think that there's no reason for me to think, because Abagus, which I don't think he got the prophecy wrong, it was through the Romans that through the Jewish people that the Romans were able to do this, since they're the ones who accused Abagus. Same thing that happened with Christ. But you just can't be wrong. You can't be wrong about this, because you're affecting people, and it's very dangerous. We still need to protect God's reputation, and make sure through, if you're a prophet out there, I'm not saying stop being a prophet. I'm not saying you are a prophet. I'm just saying be very, very careful, and don't buy into this stuff that says you can be wrong. It's okay now. God doesn't care the way he cared beforehand. He does care.